course. Okay, so congratulations on being selected by your peers as New Mexico Sportswriter of the Year. To
Thank you.
start, can you walk us through your career, just where you started, what motivated you, and all of that?
Okay. Well, to be honest, it was something I kind of always wanted to do. I kind of started on my high school newspaper at Los Lunas High School down here in New Mexico. And then I just kind of made my way through the University of New Mexico. I worked for the Daily Lobo, the independent newspaper. Was there for about 6 years. That's kind of the danger of working for an independent newspaper. Sometimes if you plan on graduating in four, you can pretty much plan on it's going to take at least an extra year, maybe even two, because you just get a little too involved in the newspaper side of things. But after that, I graduated in '03, and then I worked for about 5 months in Vero Beach before I ended up in my current digs at the Santa Fe New Mexican, and I've been there now for 22 years.
So, from your first job to now, even just in the school newspaper, what were some skills that you picked up that you think were pretty important to have now?
Um, I think being able to interview people and turn it into a conversation. I think one of the things that sometimes reporters, especially when they're young, kind of struggle with is just learning how to conduct an interview and trying to make it a little bit more conversational to where you can get maybe some more I don't know if I'm going to say improvisational, but definitely some more original material and quotes and things that maybe you normally wouldn't get out of a subject. And as you get older and everything, you kind of learn how, you learn those little tricks and those questions that kind of help you be able to draw things out of your subjects, because not all of them are going to be as open as you want them to be. So sometimes you have to work really hard at getting your subjects to talk to you.
So, interviewing skills were really important. Were there other skills that you felt like you didn't think you'd need going into the field, but you picked up along the way?
Well, from my perspective, I saw things as a sponge. I knew, being young and everything, um, you don't know everything, and you have to go in there understanding that, and that everything is a learning experience, and uh, you have to take that approach. I think sometimes some young reporters feel like, once they've reached a certain point, they think they know everything, but you really don't, and you kind of learn just through hard knocks. And even when you get to the professional level, where you're working for a newspaper or a television station or what have you, you're going to run into those situations where your skill, your writing doesn't match your skill level, and you have to take your lumps and you have to learn and grow from it. And it helps to have good editors and good mentors around you to help you grow. If you don't have that, a lot of times you end up stagnating, and sometimes that can be a serious problem, and it can kind of hinder your ability to grow and to maybe take that next jump and get to the next place.
Who were some of those editors and mentors that like helped you, and what was some of the things that helped you grow?
Um, I'll say when I was at the Daily Lobo, there was a gentleman by the name of Hank Truitt. He was a veteran writer, Washington Post, Newsweek, several other publications, decorated writer and everything. And he took all of us under his wing. He was really instrumental in me. I would also say Ileana Limon Romero. She's now the sports editor at the LA Times. She was a great colleague and a great mentor to me, to kind of push me a little bit as well. And I can't help but thank her enough. When I got to the New Mexican, really, the staff there, Lee Yobi, Tommy Trujillo, Pancho Morris, all three of those guys, were instrumental in helping me become a better reporter, and ask tougher questions, because I think sometimes that can always be the most difficult part. Is asking those questions that sometimes you don't want to ask, but you need to, because that's part of your job.
So, what other advice would you give to people who are looking to break into the industry?
Um, right. Just right. I think it just helps you grow and get better. Even if you write badly, at some point you're going to improve. And it's just like anything else. It's like any other muscle. You get better the more you use it. And to me, that's always the subject. Don't ever think that you're beneath a story too. It doesn't matter if you're interviewing for a rodeo, you're doing a story on a rodeo, or even something like, say, Little League, or like pickleball. You got to approach it with the same zest and zeal that you would, an NCAA tournament basketball game, or, the Super Bowl. You got to have that same approach, because every story is important to tell.
So when you were writing, going back to like before, like early in your career, did you strictly do sports writing?
When I was at the Daily Lobo, I started off there, but then I moved. I moved around. I did some crime reporting. I was also managing editor and editor in chief of the paper. When I was at the Santa Fe New Mexican, I was actually sports editor for about 10 years, actually 11, sorry. And then when COVID happened, my managing editor, by the way, that's another person I should mention, Phil Casals. He's been instrumental in my growth as well. He was a great boss to work with. But he moved me over to the city desk, and I was an education reporter for about 8 months before I moved back to sports. It was a way one of keeping my job because we know how things were during that stretch. And also I think he felt like I could handle the job, especially education. And given my experience as a high school reporter, I made a lot of inroads with administrators, so I didn't feel as lost maybe, or that I could handle that job better than maybe some others.
What were some key moments in those other fields of reporting that you'd like to highlight?
Um, for me, I think the most recent one when the superintendent of Santa Fe Public Schools resigned, and this happens, right in the afternoon, and it was a very busy day on that day in March of 2021. She resigned, so I had to write a breaking news story about that. Plus, I had to write, a daily story as well. Plus, kind of another analysis piece about who might be potential candidates for that. On top of that, it was the same day that the state decided to open up schools again, and they drew out their plans for it. So I had to do three stories. I must have worked about 12, 14 hours that day. And by about 9 o'clock, you're just drained. You're exhausted. But it was really satisfying to see the work that I put in, and when Phil kind of told me I did a good job with it, that means a lot. Even though I'm, at the time I was 46, and Phil being such a decorated editor and writer in the state of New Mexico, it means a lot when you hear that from somebody who's been in the business for, 25, 30 years like he's been.
Going back to advice, so you've mentioned your sports experience. So with all of your experience and the transferable skills that you've had and picked up, what would you say would be like your advice just getting into writing in general rather than sports industry?
Rather than sports industry. I think again, one, like I said, you just got to keep writing. But two, there are a lot of there are a lot of publications out there, a lot of places where you can start honing your writing skills. It's not just a newspaper. There are a lot of websites out there and blogs. Even if you want to take the initiative and do that on your own, I think it's definitely a great opportunity. It's just what you kind of what you make it out to be, and just keep an open mind and understand that sometimes you may start in one direction, you may end up in another, but if you stay true to whatever your calling is, you should be able to do a good job.
Thank you so much for letting me interview you and sharing your experiences with me.
Oh, you're very welcome. Thank you very much. I really
Thank
do
you so
appreciate the
much.
time.
And we appreciate you taking the time, but also congratulations again on being
No,
named the
thank you.
Sportswriter of
I,
the
I
Year.
wish,
Yes,
yeah, I wish I was going to be there and everything, but unfortunately, I've had some. The last couple of months have been a little rough for me, just dealing with some family issues and everything. So,
of
that
course.
kind of takes precedence. But, I'm thankful for the honor, and hopefully one of these days I get that opportunity again, and maybe I can come out there.
Yes, that would be so amazing if we could see you.
Yeah, yes, it would. It would be awesome. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Of course. Thank you so much again for meeting me.
You're very welcome. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Have a good